In 2022, Andy Farrington exited a diving airplane over the Arizona desert, aiming to climb into another empty aircraft mid-fall. Years earlier, he had survived cancer as a toddler and grown up on a small airfield in Washington state that his grandfather built. His first tandem skydive came at 12. His jumps soon numbered in the tens of thousands. These were consistent, measurable steps over many years, and the scale kept increasing. Let's follow how a family drop zone kid became one of the most visible wingsuit specialists in modern skydiving. Around 1984 in Washington state, doctors diagnosed 2-year-old Andy Farrington with cancer, forcing a long break from normal early childhood routines. His parents were already active skydivers, closely tied to a drop zone his grandfather had started. The family stayed based around that airfield during his treatment, keeping aircraft and parachutes as part of daily life. Medical care still came first. He recovered and resumed everyday activities. The illness did not end the flying environment around him. Aircraft and parachutes stayed present even during his recovery years. By the early 1990s, Farrington was spending most days at the family drop zone in Washington, watching aircraft cycles and parachute landings from the ground. At 12, he made his first tandem skydive with his father during a trip to Austria, entering the sport as a participant, not just an observer. On his 16th birthday, he completed 15 jumps in a single day. 15 jumps at 16 pushed his learning pace sharply upward. His training focused on repetition and basic skills. Each jump added deliberate practice and real-time learning. Soon after that 16th birthday in the late 1990s, Farrington began working regular jobs at the Washington drop zone, including packing parachutes and helping around aircraft. He advanced into roles as an instructor and organizer as his jump numbers increased and responsibilities expanded. The environment was practical and task-based, with clear responsibilities tied to each load. Every day involved specific duties and specific exits. Each new rating allowed him to take on more responsibility and more complex tasks. The drop zone became both his workplace and daily training field. Work and practice happened in the same place and often on the same jump. By around 2013, based in Washington state, reports described Farrington with roughly 20 years in the sport and about 20,000 jumps, averaging close to 1,000 per year since age 16, a workload few skydivers match. He traveled for paraskiing trips with his parents and for skydiving events across different countries, moving from local operations to international schedules. Workdays often combined commercial jumps and personal training exits. Sustaining this pace meant constant exposure to skydiving risk. 20,000 jumps marked a shift into truly high-volume experience. It also positioned him for higher-level projects that required proven reliability under pressure. Coverage in 2015 highlighted Farrington as experienced in swooping, free-flying, and increasingly in wingsuit flying, while also noting his role on an elite U.S. skydiving demonstration team in the United States. He had already completed tens of thousands of skydives and thousands of hours under canopy. Demonstration work added stadium appearances and organized displays at large public events, far beyond routine drop zone days. These were tightly scripted performances. The shows required strict timing, accurate navigation, and formation discipline. Each event involved detailed planning and rehearsals. Precision became a central professional requirement, not just a training goal. As wingsuit racing began to formalize in the early 2010s, Farrington helped test a new wingsuit design known internally as the Colugo 2, jumping prototypes at Skydive Kaphausen and in the American Southwest in 2014. He contributed ideas about surface area and efficiency that designers later adopted. Testing meant repeated jumps in similar conditions, often with small measured adjustments between flights. Small changes were evaluated through objective speed and handling data. Results were measured, compared, and logged. It was systematic gear development, not guesswork, carried out at real altitude. On July 17, 2014, a field of 52 wingsuit pilots raced through aerial gates over Northern California in a first-of-its-kind wingsuit competition. Farrington, then 31, posted the fastest time in the event, which used helicopters to suspend the gates and required pilots to navigate a slalom course while maintaining speed. He did it against a large, skilled field. His result placed him at the front of an emerging competitive format. The win was measurable on a stopwatch. It also drew wider attention to his wingsuit skills and consistency under timed pressure. Around this same period, Farrington expanded into base jumping, building toward more than 1,500 base jumps alongside his skydiving workload. Photos from 2017 show him flying a wingsuit over Washington's Hood Canal, documenting regular proximity flying in mountainous terrain. Base exits demanded detailed planning for lines, winds, and landing zones. The margins for error narrowed significantly compared with standard skydives. Each successful jump added to his total low-altitude experience. The environments became more complex and more constrained. Precision now had less height to recover from any mistake. Around this period, Farrington also entered the United States film world as a professional stunt performer, joining major productions that needed high-risk aerial sequences. His credits include work on large action films listed in industry databases. Court records later described him as a stuntman and member of a major performers guild. On set, he executed pre-planned skydives and aircraft work under strict safety oversight and union rules, because mistakes had serious consequences. Every move followed precise marks and timing set by the production. High-budget sets now relied on his precise aerial execution. The same skydiving skills now supported commercial, schedule-driven projects. By 2016, Farrington and his cousin Luke Aikins were widely known as a skydiving pair from Washington who trained and worked together on multiple projects. They grew up on neighboring airfields and later combined as pilots, wingsuit flyers, and stunt specialists. Joint work included commercial skydives and special events in different locations, not just local operations. Their roles often divided into aerial coordination and stunt execution. The collaboration deepened over time as projects grew more ambitious. Family and professional ties overlapped and reinforced each other. Trust came from thousands of shared jumps. Around 2017, Farrington joined a project in Jordan that involved large-scale skydives over desert landscapes and a planned ending in the Dead Sea. Shared material shows him completing a jump sequence that finishes with a controlled water entry. The location required coordination with local authorities and rescue support. Conditions included high heat and dense air near the water surface, which changed how gear and bodies behaved. The project expanded his list of international locations. It also broadened his experience with unusual landing environments. Landings now included salt water, not just airfields. By 2019, a detailed profile described Farrington, based in Washington State, with more than 26,000 skydives, over 1,500 base jumps, and about 6,000 hours as a pilot. He was labeled one of the most capable wingsuit flyers active at that time. Those numbers reflected decades of continuous activity and travel. His schedule mixed skydiving instruction, demonstration jumps, and aircraft ferry flights. The workload stayed heavy and regular, with multiple roles on many days. The combination of piloting and jumping skills made him useful on complex aerial projects. Few people held that mix at that scale. Planning for the plane swap project intensified in early 2022 with test flights over Arizona involving 2 modified single-engine aircraft and a custom air brake system. Aikins led the concept, and Farrington joined once skydiving with the aircraft began. Test sessions focused on matching dive speeds and stability as the planes pointed straight down. They adjusted configurations to keep both planes within a narrow performance window. The goal was straightforward: enable 2 pilots to leave their aircraft and enter each other's. Every step was documented and repeated. The experiment pushed normal small aircraft operations into an unusual dive regime. On April 24, 2022, over Eloy, Arizona, the plane swap attempt went live with the 2 aircraft starting from 14,000 feet. Both pilots put their planes into synchronized nosedives, exited, and aimed for the opposite cockpit. Aikins reached his target aircraft and recovered it. Farrington could not stabilize into the right position and diverted to a parachute landing. One plane crashed in the desert. Neither pilot was injured. The primary objective was only half completed, but the attempt was widely recorded and discussed. Days later in the United States, it emerged that the aviation regulator had denied a requested exemption for the stunt before the attempt, and in May 2022, it revoked both pilots' licenses. A lengthy legal process followed, culminating in a detailed 2025 order reviewing how the event was planned and executed. The decision limited Farrington's ability to act as a pilot, but did not affect his skydiving qualifications. Regulatory consequences became part of his record in public history. The written findings became a permanent part of his aviation history. Paperwork now tracked every major decision. Despite the licensing setback, Farrington continued to work as a skydiver, coach, and wingsuit mentor. In 2024, he instructed at an aviation camp in the United States where other professionals described him as one of the world's best skydivers and wingsuit pilots. He remained active in the air, still jumping regularly. The focus shifted more toward teaching and organized events. Influence moved from solo stunts to guiding others. Over several decades, Andy Farrington's actions moved from local family jumps in Washington to international wingsuit races, film sets, and highly engineered aviation projects. His career stands out for the volume of jumps, the combination of piloting and stunt work, and his role in technical wingsuit development. Large projects like plane swap and various global demonstrations depended on managing significant physical risk at scale, which kept his name prominent inside skydiving and stunt circles. The same skills that began on a family drop zone evolved into work at the most demanding levels of the sport. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.